All right. My presentation is on the NVD, or National Vulnerability Database. I'm having to redo it again because my audio did not record. Awesome, I know. The National Vulnerability Database. What is it? It is an online repository accessible to the public. It is, to be more specific, it is the U.S. government repository of standards-based vulnerability management data. Um, the repository was created and is maintained by the National Institute of Standards and Technology, also known as NIST, uh, and it contains information on all discovered vulnerabilities, from their descriptions, statistics, and even mitigation methods for the discovered vulnerabilities. The reason NVD is such an important resource in the cybersecurity industry is because it is a centralized location of all information vulnerability related, and the database is a cybersecurity officer's best friend. So the home page of the NVD, it holds an announcements page for any announcements related to the site in general. It has a list of the latest of the 20 latest stored vulnerabilities. So the recent vulnerabilities from 120, and they'll have their name, ID, their description, and their severity score. And then there's also the menu pages. And then I'll show you the main page right here. Here's their announcements. And then here's legal disclaimer, and then the last 20 stored vulnerabilities, IDs, and summaries. Their description, their ID, name, and their score on how severe it is. The general page, it provides basic information on the NVD repository. It also has some subpages like brief history, CVE processes, and then CNA and CVE counting. Brief history, self-explanatory. The CVE processes, that page discusses uh, the database's process of adding a vulnerability to the database. And then CNA, CVE counting, that subpage it gives a definition of what a CNA is. A CNA is a volunteer organization that adds CVE IDs to any vulnerability that has been approved by NVD, like it meets NVD standards. And then CVE counting is the what is it? Oh, it discusses the rules towards counting CVEs. I just said it. It's what the standards they have to meet to be a CVE. But the responsibilities of a CNA would include responding to CVE requests, determining if a request is an actual vulnerability, adding said vulnerability to the repository with proper information, and then they must report their findings within 24 hours to any higher level CNAs. So I'll show you the general page right here. These are the sub pages, and here's any general information. Next one on the list is vulnerabilities page. Vulnerabilities page, it has a couple sub pages, which would be the viewing tutorial and then status definitions. And then NVD's definition of a vulnerability is a weakness in the computational logic address code found in software and hardware components that, when exploited, results in a negative impact to confidentiality, integrity, or availability. Mitigation of the vulnerabilities in this context typically involves coding changes, but could also include specification changes or even specification deprecations, address removal of affected protocols or functionality in their entirety. I know, a lot of big words, but vulnerabilities. The main page with the definition, detailed pages. I call the tutorial. It basically tells users how to read the information, like what they're seeing, like how they're reading severity scores, how they read the description, and all that. And then vulnerability statuses. It informs users what a status is and all their individual definitions. Next on the list is vulnerability metrics. So this page discusses the method used by the NVD to calculate severity scores of the vulnerabilities, and then how these assessments are performed. The page has two subpages. One sends you to another website that's a CVSS calculator, and what it does is you input parameters about any like information about what happens with the vulnerability, and then it'll calculate how severe that vulnerability is. And then the other page is just a regular subpage that discusses the integration of products utilizing CVSS calculators. I'll show you right here. The main CVSS metrics page. Here is the integration page with examples. Here is the vulnerability storing system. It's pretty cool. The calculator is right here. You can input metrics. For storing. Next page is products. The product section holds information on what products have been affected by a vulnerability or vulnerabilities, and it discusses the method of gaining this information and mentions a possible future replacement. So here's all that. There's not really a whole lot on the page itself. A lot of these main pages will be like that. Developers. This one's interesting. Developers is designed to give developers access to vulnerability data for integration purposes. What this means is developers have access to APIs and data sources, which they can then use to develop or update security products such as IDSs, IPSs, CMs, or any other vulnerability management systems. That way, they can use like either a list or machine learning AI to determine if something is a vulnerability, like for a vulnerability scanner, or if you're looking for a known vulnerability inside a network, that kind of thing. And then the developer's page. Here's all the different sub pages, and then the main page right here. Next on the list is the contact page. Very boring, pretty self-explanatory. Gives you contact information for NVD staff. And then other sites. All it does is provide you with a list of other websites that are similar to NVD. NCP repository, that is a repository of guidelines and checklists for security configurations. And then there's also NSIT SP853 controls, SCAP validated controls, SCAP or USGCB. The search page, that is the heart of NVD. You have 3 different searches. You have vulnerabilities, products, or checklists. Vulnerabilities is self-explanatory. If it'll let me load. Hello, there we go. There we go. But you can use a keyword or the exact name of the ID to find your vulnerability and all of its related information. And here's all the different filtering options. Products. These are products that have been affected by vulnerability. Pretty similar, but not as much filtering. And then right here is checklists. You can search for any checklists that you're looking for from the NCP repository. That was my presentation on the NVD database. Thank you for watching.